Let's get into the analysis for Super Bowl 52 here. Eagles and Patriots. We have ranked the top 20 players. So let's get into it. Checking in at number 20 in our Super Bowl 52 rankings. Well, it's one Dion Lewis, running back for the Patriots.
You know, this is very funny for me to see Dion Lewis here because remember, folks, who drafted Dion Lewis? It was the Philadelphia Eagles. Then he went to the Browns, and he flamed out with the Browns, and then he's in New England, and oh, I'm good. I think that's some of that Bill Belichick magic. But Lewis, especially in part because Mike Gillislee's been banged up and had some fumbling issues, he's kind of become the #1 back for New England with Rex Burkhead also being baited out. He's contributed through the air as well. James White gets all the touchdowns, but Lewis has done all of the actual yardage work. And we left off a lot of guys on this list, a lot of guys that I thought, when I'm thinking about, oh, he's going to be on there, he's going to be on there. And I'm like, oh, that's like 30 guys. So we ended up cutting some. Dion Lewis just barely made the list there at number 20. I'm curious to see how Belichick uses him versus the other halfbacks in the Super Bowl.
He's been fantastic for the Patriots, especially with the injuries to the running back position. Mike Gillislee, Rex Burkhead missed some games in the later part of the season and into the playoffs. So Dion Lewis, from a line of scrimmage perspective, great receiving and, of course, great running the football. He's there at number 20 in our top 20 players for Super Bowl 52. Let's go to number 19 now. Danny Amendola, wide receiver for the Patriots, and he may not have the best Pro Football Focus grade out there. In fact, he's actually a shade under 80, but he is so clutch in the playoffs.
He has been huge this postseason, and that did factor into the way we graded these players and had them ranked. 18 receptions, 2 TDs, almost 200 yards. Edelman's been hurt. Amendola's banged up throughout the year as well. Yep. He has really kind of stepped up as of late and become that, especially when Gronk was out, that go-to receiver for the Patriots. Now, we assume Gronk's going to play. When that's the case, he's going to kind of take a secondary role. But this is a guy you really wanted on there, Cam, and I agreed with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Amendola, you know, he has had some fantastic catches in the playoffs and also had a really good year. You mentioned some injuries there. Edelman, of course, done for the year, and Chris Hogan was dealing with some injuries on the outside.
He's been banged up for quite a while.
And Danny Amendola, by the way, a knock on him was always the injury bug. But
he's always been hurt.
He's done a pretty decent job about staying healthy this season.
For the most part, yeah.
So there he is at number 19. Let's take a look at our first Eagle off the board. At number 18, Mychal Kendricks, linebacker for Philadelphia. You're going to see a lot of Philadelphia defenders in this list.
And this is just such craziness for me with what has happened overall to Mychal Kendricks. He had been the subject of trade rumors all offseason long. The Eagles had tried to shop him. At one point, they felt like the Kendricks actually asked for a trade. The Eagles said no, that they couldn't get a good deal for him, that no one really wanted that contract either. And yet here he is when Jordan Hicks went down. Kendricks stepped up in a big, big way, and it's been instrumental for Philadelphia. Had they moved Kendricks, they would have been in a rough spot because they would have been really thin at linebacker. Kendricks has thrived this year. I think he's in good position to get a nice payday in the offseason. This has been a very good year for Kendricks. And this Eagles defense has been just so good this year.
So good.
And I actually felt really bad leaving off guys like Chris Long, like Vinny Curry, like Ronald Darby, like Jalen Mills, because they have been really good for the Eagles this year, but we had to cut it to 20, and there were 2 teams involved. There were snubs, plain and simple.
Mychal Kendricks at number 18 in our top 20 Super Bowl 52 players. Let's take a look at number 17, defensive end Trey Flowers for the New England Patriots. Let's face it, the Patriots won't scare you with their pass rush, but Flowers can make it happen.
Yeah, Flowers is the one guy to be afraid of. And if you take Flowers off that defense in terms of pass rush, all of a sudden it goes, who's going to get to the quarterback?
Eric Lee?
A guy no one's really heard of and only plays on some downs. Like it's kind of Trey Flowers and a bunch of rotational players that no one really fully trusts. And Flowers, I think, maybe isn't the best player on the Patriots defense, but he's one of the most important because of the lack of depth and talent on that roster right now at the edge rusher spot for the Patriots. So he's critical there, and has also Cam graded up very well on Pro Football Focus.
Absolutely. Had a great year in the regular season and continuing it in the playoffs. Trey Flowers at number 17 in our rankings. Let's take a look at number 16. This one, I feel, could get the people going as they watch this program right now, but we had to put him in here. Nick Foles, quarterback for the Eagles. He played well against Minnesota.
I really thought about leaving him off the list. I really did. And in the end, I'm like, you know what? He lit up Minnesota. I'm going to go ahead and include him because if you base it only on a regular season, Nick Foles is not that good.
No.
Let's not kid ourselves here. He looked bad against the Cowboys before he got benched. Nate Sutton actually looked better than Nick Foles did in that game. He was not good against the Raiders. But then in the postseason, all of a sudden, he has just become great. Like, he has emerged as a really good quarterback for Philadelphia. Now, I think he's benefited by having maybe the best offensive line in the NFL. When you include Jason Peters, that injury's been a big factor there. We'll talk more about that later on in this segment here. But with Nick Foles, it's the playoffs. That's why he's at 16. I really thought about leading him off the list, Cam. I still am not a believer in Nick Foles.
So there he is at number 16. We'll see if Nick Foles can change your mind, Tom, on Sunday evening. Stay tuned. Let's take a look at number 15 in our rankings here. Devin McCourty, safety for the New England Patriots. Another solid campaign, an 82.3 Pro Football Focus grade, 26th among safeties.
So with McCourty, it's all about the tackles. He has been the number one tackler for the Patriots, and I think that's in part, Cam, because their linebackers just have not been very good this year. For whatever reason, they have just struggled consistently, to the point that it's like, why are they so bad? So you see 97 tackles. That's a lot for a safety. But McCourty has almost been a really undersized linebacker because that middle tier, that middle group for the Patriots is not very good. There was no way we were not going to include the team's leading tackler as far as I was concerned.
So Devin McCourty there at number 15 in our rankings. Let's take a look at number 14 now. Nigel Bradham, linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles, and another good linebacker for Philadelphia, by the way.
And the leading tackler. So they're right next to each other, and Bradham, after he moved to Philadelphia, has really thrived in Philadelphia, and he is a big reason why the Eagles' defense has been so good. There are a lot of reasons why Philadelphia has had such a good year, but Bradham has done his job very well. He gets tackles. And that's what you're asking for him. He's made some nice plays in the backfield as well, 6 tackles for loss. Now he gets a bit of a different task against the Patriots, and we're going to talk more about this on tomorrow's show, how these kind of teams kind of match up. How does he fare in open space against guys like Dion Lewis and James White?
Yeah.
You can't miss tackles against Patriots. They will make you pay.
All right, so Nigel Bradham there at number 14. In terms of our individual rankings here for Super Bowl 52, let's take a look at another defender, this one on the New England side. Playing inside at defensive tackle, Malcom Brown.
You know, Brown's stats aren't going to pop out to you. He's not a big tackle guy. He's not a big tackle for loss guy, but he's a run stuffer, and he does that job effectively and in a huge way. Alan Branch has not played a lot this year. He's been banged up. Malcom Brown has stepped up and pretty much replaced him fully effectively. Former first-round pick. What Brown has done this year has been super impressive because his stats don't show, but he's always helping the Patriots stop the run. This is the type of guy that you're not going to see pop in the stat sheet, but is the guy who the Patriots rely on in an incredibly important way. Brown fills that run stuffer role perfectly for the Patriots. I call him one of the more underrated guys on this Patriots team. Stats don't show it, but his on-the-field play does.
Not quite Vince Wilfork, but he's pretty good inside.
No one is Vince Wilfork.
Exactly. Malcom Brown at number 13. Let's take a look at number 12 here, ladies and gentlemen. Malcolm Jenkins, an 83.6 Pro Football Focus grade, playing the safety position for the Eagles.
Does a little bit of everything for the Eagles. He plays some nickel corner at times when needed, and he's been a great player for Philadelphia. He's a Pro Bowler this year, which doesn't always mean a lot, but it is worth mentioning. 76 tackles, some picks. Has looked really well in the postseason already. Has 12 tackles, which is a lot for just the 2 games in the playoffs. A tackle for loss as well. Jenkins, I think he's more or less, I call him the heart and soul of this Eagles team. Like, at least on the defensive side.
He's a vocal leader.
He is a critical part of the Eagles, and I love what he's done this year. 12 almost seemed too low for him. But it's chock full of really good players on this list. Which, surprise, surprise, that's why they're in the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Go figure.
Yeah, no coincidence there, as Malcom Jenkins is at number 12 in our top 20 players for Super Bowl 52. Number 11, a big-time acquisition at that, Alshon Jeffery, wide receiver for the Eagles, and he really transformed this offense, it seemed, this year.
Look, the Eagles needed weapons around Carson Wentz, and I guess now Nick Foles, since Wentz is hurt, and Alshon Jeffery became that guy. He's still a little inconsistent at times, but 9 TDs, almost 800 yards, has helped open up the offense as well. Nelson Aguilar got a lot better this year. Zach Ertz put up bigger numbers because NFL teams know, hey, we can't just concentrate on a couple guys. We got to cover everyone. So Jeffery hasn't put up great numbers, but he's helped open up the Eagles' offense. He is the best receiver playing this game, not including tight ends. Because, there's Gronk, and we're not dumb.
Right. Alshon Jeffery at number 11. Before we get into the top 10, let's summarize our top 20 players so far. Dion Lewis, Danny Amendola, Mychal Kendricks, Trey Flowers, and Nick Foles, 20 through 16 there. And then 15 through 11, Devin McCourty, Nigel Bradham, Malcom Brown, and Malcolm Jenkins, and Alshon
Spelled differently,
Jeffery.
by the way.
Yes, good point there. This is NFL Daily.
No relation between the two.
No relation.
No relation.
Definitely not. This is NFL Daily presented by Mizzen and Main. Check them out, comfortable.af, for some fantastic American-made products, most notably their sweat wicking technology with their shirts with no ironing needed, no dry cleaning needed either.
You know, producer Brett Scott did not like my no relation joke, but he does like Mizzen and Main because they are comfortable as F, Cam.
Comfortable.af is indeed the website. That is not a typo, so check them out, and we thank them for sponsoring NFL Daily here today. Let's get into our top 10 now for Super Bowl 52 player rankings. I love this guy, Tom. I am a big offensive line fan, and that's why we have Brandon Brooks at number 10, guard for the Eagles. Really great player.
Offensive line play matters, and it matters in a big way. And this Eagles offensive line is incredible. When Jason Peters went down, normally you'll see a team collapse when they lose their left tackle. We saw the Cowboys kind of do when Tyron Smith went down with an injury. Eagles have been like, we're fine. And this right side of the offensive line with Kelce and Brooks and Lane Johnson, those other two names here in a little bit, is the best right side of the offensive line in the NFL.
Agreed.
And I don't know if there's anyone even all that close. All three of these guys are Pro Bowl / All-Pro talents. Brandon Brooks came over from Houston. He has done a fantastic job. You'll see the Eagles like to use that right side of the line because it is absolutely loaded. No disrespect to Steven Wisniewski, but Brooks is the best guard on the Eagles, and it's really not even all that close. He's the best guard playing this game as well.
Just imagine if Peters was playing in the Super Bowl too on left tackle.
It's the best offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible, and that's maybe not without Jason Peters, but with him healthy, it's just loaded.
There you see that Pro Football Focus grade of 87.3 for Brandon Brooks. He's number 10 in our individual player rankings for Super Bowl 52. Let's take a look at number 9 now. It was a slow start for him in 2017, Tom, but he really picked it up towards the end. Stephon Gilmore, cornerback.
Gilmore is a bit of a frustrating player because he's really good when he's on. Like, he's great. He's on better corners in the NFL. But when he gets beat bad. Yeah. And I think that's not all that different for some NFL cornerbacks, but there was that play too.
That was big.
That was a huge play for him because if he didn't break that pass up, they'd probably lose that game, and we're not talking about the Patriots tonight. So Gilmore is still a really good corner, graded out very well this year by Pro Football Focus. Still has some ups and downs, but I trust him to shut down opposing teams' #1 corners, and he's been better than Malcolm Butler has been as well this year.
We'll stay with the corner theme here, Tom, as we check in with number 8 in our rankings here. And outside of maybe Kendall Fuller, the best slot corner in the NFL, Patrick Robinson.
And Robinson is playing on a very cheap contract as well because he almost signed with the Cowboys and said, you know, I'm going to go to Philadelphia instead. And he's coming in that nickel role, and he has thrived. Also had a play everyone saw. He had the pick 6 against Minnesota. I think it was kind of a big turning point in that game. Robinson is going to make some more money this offseason now. Maybe not too much because he's a little bit on the older side of his career. But he's broken up 18 passes this year. In terms of nickel corners, he's been fantastic. And that's big for Philadelphia. Because remember, we had at number 19 on our list. We had Danny Amendola. Robinson versus Amendola.
That's going to be fun.
If Robinson can take away Amendola, that takes away one of Brady's top options. And we'll get to some more discussion here about these matchups. But that is an area I think leans in favor of Philadelphia. And that's a big factor. Philadelphia wants to find ways to stop Tom Brady.
And it could really start with Amendola and Patrick Robinson.
Yeah.
Like, that could be the beginning of beating Tom Brady. Who knows? All right, so Patrick Robinson is there at number 8. Let's take a look at number 7. Back to the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line we go. This time it's the right tackle, Lane Johnson. And what a year he had, the 6th-ranked tackle, according to Pro Football Focus.
You know, he's not suspended. Lane Johnson is great.
Agreed. And
Lane Johnson was a first-team All-Pro this year. He stayed at right tackle despite the injury to Jason Peters, and he's been Lane Johnson. He's been year in and year out one of the better tackles in the NFL, and he's very athletic, and he'll eventually, I think, make the move to left tackle, but Lane Johnson is perfect on that right side. The Eagles are paying him like that. He is a big factor. Remember, he's going to go up against, for the most part, Trey Flowers. Who wins that matchup head-to-head? If it's Lane Johnson, that makes life a lot easier on Nick Foles. The Eagles will try and get the ball out of Foles' hands quickly, but New England does not have a great pass rush. So they might be able to have a little bit more time, let things develop. That Flowers-Johnson matchup is going to be a fascinating one to watch.
And by the way, it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles left side will kind of have some relief here with
not
a good pass rushing crew for the New England Patriots. So Lane Johnson, no doubt, will have his hands full. He's at number 7 in our individual rankings for Super Bowl 52. Number 6, the tight end, Zach Ertz. And look, if it weren't for Rob Gronkowski and some of these other big names like Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz could be the best tight end in the league.
I actually think that Ertz maybe is number 2. Maybe he's actually better than Travis Kelce. I loved what Zach Ertz did this year, despite missing some time with injuries. He was fantastic. He and Carson Wentz have great chemistry. I'm talking Tony Romo, Jason Witten, Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates chemistry. Like those two are going to put up great numbers every year as long as they're healthy. And Ertz, I think, is primed for a big game as long as Nick Foles gets him the ball. And the chemistry is not quite the same. Of course, how could it be?
Right.
But we saw Zach Ertz get open against the great Philadelphia defense. He should be able to do the same against the Patriots. With that said, Bill Belichick always takes away the opposing team's best weapon. That is Zach Ertz. That's not Alshon Jeffery. That is Zach Ertz. I am very curious to see how Belichick covers Zach Ertz. Is it zone? Do they put a safety or a linebacker on? How do they stop Zach Ertz? That's going to be the thing I'm watching early in the game.
Oh, no, by the way, when the Patriots practice, in theory, they're playing against Rob Gronkowski. I think they know how to defend a pretty darn good tight end, huh?
And vice versa.
They get the reps in. There's Zach Ertz at number 6 in our rankings. We'll stay with the Philadelphia Eagles here. And Brandon Graham, defensive end. This guy is legit. I love this player.
Look, this is a good time to mention this. You beat Tom Brady by getting pressure without blitzing. Guess what if you're Philadelphia?
Sets up well.
You can get pressure without blitzing. This Philadelphia team has the depth on the defensive end and defensive tackle to get pressure against Brady, and Brandon Graham is the best pass rusher on a really deep Eagles unit. There's Brandon Graham, there's Vinny Curry, there's Chris Long, there's rookie Derek Barnett, who's been really good this year in a pass-first type of role. Graham is the best of all 4. They'll rotate. I expect Brandon Graham to get to Brady, and he's going to have to if the Eagles want to win this game.
Well, that's the important thing, Tom. You mentioned it. They rotate, and that's why they're always so fresh. They always play so well.
Depth
that's kind of
matters.
how Jim Schwartz likes to do it. So, all right, Brandon Graham at number 5 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's stick with the Eagles here. Back to the offensive line, and it's Jason Kelce, the number 1 center, according to Pro Football Focus. He beat out Alex Mack this year.
He also was the first-team All-Pro, so I guess the voters of the AP also agree with him there. With Jason Kelce, remember how we were at the start of the year? There were the trade rumors. People were saying, "Hey, trade Jason Kelce for Mark Ingram." That's where we're at the beginning of the year, and instead the Eagles were like, "We're going to keep Kelce," and he's really been a big factor for this offensive line. Center play matters more than I think some people realize, because he is the linchpin of that offensive line. He's often calling out signals and who's blitzing and all that. He plays a big role in that area, and Jason Kelce has been the best center in the NFL this year. Offensive line play matters. That's why he's in the top 5.
He made a big leap, too, this season. Really a fantastic year for Jason Kelce. He's at number 4 in our rankings. And you mentioned how good that front 4 is for the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, Fletcher Cox comes in at number 3, and really, that's why I feel the Eagles have such a great chance at the upset, Tom, because the Eagles don't have to blitz.
No, they can bring 4 guys, and Fletcher Cox hasn't put up the biggest numbers of his career, but he was still second-team All-Pro. He gets a lot of attention on the inside. Like, the Patriots are going to be very concerned about Cox and Brandon Graham, and that's why you see guys like Vinny Curry, Chris Long, Derek Barnett, even Timmy Jernigan get more pressure because the opposing teams have to stop Cox and Graham, and then they're in a situation where, oh, we got beat by the other guy. So Fletcher Cox is one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. He's no Aaron Donald. Nobody is. But
yeah.
Cox is really not all that far behind. Consistently one of the best DTs in the NFL. He's going to have a big game, and he's going to need to have a big game for the Philadelphia Eagles to win this matchup.
I wonder if Shaq Mason, the right guard there, is going to be able to sleep before Super Bowl 52.
Shaq Mason's been pretty good this year, but that's a matchup that you're like, oh, man, there's a lot riding on me.
Yeah,
it really is.
So Fletcher Cox is at number 3 in our rankings. Let's get to number 2. Tight end for the Patriots, Rob Gronkowski. Currently in the concussion protocol, Tom, but we have him here at 2.
But he's going to play.
Yeah.
Like Gronk's going to play in this game. He said he's going to play. It would be a stunner if he's not cleared in time by concussion protocol. He's on the verge of being cleared as well. And even despite missing time against the Jags, 7 catches, 102 yards, and a TD. And he's Gronk. Like, he is the most uncoverable player in the NFL. Like, if you're Philadelphia, you're staying up late at night, and if you're Jim Schwartz, you're like, all right, how do I stop Gronk? Like, how do I stop Gronk? How do I limit Gronk?
Yeah.
How do I not let Gronk beat me? And that's how you get beat by guys like Chris Hogan and Amendola and James White. I would think you'll see the linebackers and safeties play a big role in there. My guess is Malcolm Jenkins will get most of the duties against Gronk. But it's going to be a team effort. You might see some more zone from Philadelphia, maybe even some double teams. Like maybe you dare Brady to beat you deep with a deep ball, have a safety double team Gronk, and try and take him out of the game altogether. Take a page out of Bill Belichick's playbook and say, hey, we're not going to let your best guy beat us. And someone else has to.
The Eagles have speed at the linebacker position too,
and
so
safety,
you never know. Maybe a little bracket coverage with linebacker and safety, etc.
He's too big, too fast to be guarded by any one man.
Okay, so there's Rob Gronkowski at number 2, which means this guy has to be at number 1, the quarterback for the Patriots, Tom Brady. He said today, look, guys, why does everybody want me to retire so soon? Because he's playing at a high level.
I mean, of course Brady's going to be number 1. Like, he's probably going to win MVP. Like, of course he's the best player left. And there had been the demise of Tom Brady late in December because the December numbers were not very good. And then he comes down in the postseason, 61 of 91, 627, and 5 TDs. So same old Tom Brady.
Classic Tom Brady.
Still back.
Yes.
And this, I think, is kind of the overarching theme that I came in from this is the Eagles have more players, and they've got more top 10, top 15 players. But you got Tom Brady at number 1, Nick Foles at number 16. Is that difference enough for the Patriots to win the game? And I think that's just kind of the theme I think we saw last year. As good as Matt Ryan was, Brady ended up being a little bit better, and there's some other issues playing in the role there as well. But with Brady, he is the reason the Patriots are favored in this game, and that's why the Eagles are the underdogs once again.
So Tom Brady, the top guy, the top dog in our top 20 players for Super Bowl 52. Let's summarize what we have here. 20 through 16, Dion Lewis, Danny Amendola, the playoff wonder, if you will, Mychal Kendricks, Trey Flowers, and Nick Foles, quarterback for the Eagles. 15 through 11, Devin McCourty, Nigel Bradham, Malcom Brown, Malcolm Jenkins, spelled differently, Alshon Jeffery at number 11. And then 10 through 6 here, Brandon Brooks, the fantastic guard there, Stephon Gilmore, Patrick Robinson, the slot corner, Lane Johnson at right tackle, Zach Ertz at tight end, and then the top 5 players, Brandon Graham, Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox, Rob Gronkowski, and finally, Tom Brady.